Hello, fellow sewists and sewing enthusiasts. Welcome back, and for those of you who watched my previous video, this is the second edition of the Spot the Difference game. For this video, I am going to show all of the undergarments that built my 1905 Suffragist silhouette. Some that I made, and some that I commissioned from other talented historical sewists. I'll start with the two structural garments, the corset and the hip pad, and then move on to the soft undergarments, which are just as important but perform different functions. I commissioned the corset from Laura Corsets, a maker who specializes in reproducing corsets from extant examples. I contacted her last year about creating an Edwardian corset for maternity, since I knew that had to be a thing, but I do not currently possess the skills or expertise to make such a garment myself. Laura sent me photos of a few maternity corsets from her personal collection, as well as period advertisement images to give me an idea of what they would look like on a body, albeit an idealized one. We selected the early Edwardian example as a starting point, and I sent her my measurements, both normal and what they currently were for my stage of pregnancy. The idea was that I would be able to wear this corset postpartum as well. She made a fully wearable mock-up and sent it to me to try on. Okay, here we are so far with the maternity corset. It's very comfortable so far. I've been wearing it probably 15 minutes, getting it all adjusted. There's lots of areas where I can adjust, so that's very convenient. I was expecting to need to use these more, but I ended up widening the side lacing before really getting into this, so that I could get the busk closed and lace the back to a even, parallel gap, which is what you want with a corset. So I'm really quite pleased. I feel like I have good bust support. I know that the Edwardian silhouette doesn't really lift the bust. It kind of keeps it low and, gives you the pigeon-breasted effect. So, but I do feel supported. It's not compressing my belly at all. It's giving me a little bit of waist definition. A little bit higher than my natural waist is normally, obviously, but that's perfectly fine. And it's definitely helping with my posture. I'm really happy with the shape and the fit. And yeah, it really gives me a feel for what the finished corset will be like. And I can tell that as I do continue to grow, there will be more room for expansion. Maternity corsets are a good thing if you're doing historical costuming, so don't let anyone tell you that you shouldn't wear a corset when you're pregnant. As long as it's a properly made, adjustable maternity corset, you're gonna be good. The mock-up is actually what I ended up wearing on election day itself, as seen here in my Get Ready With Me video. We did a virtual fitting so she could see how it fit, and after I wore it for a few hours on a couple of different days to assess the level of comfort, I sent it back to Laura so she could make the real corset. My custom maternity corset was patterned from and based on a Puritan brand corset from Laura's personal collection of antique corsets. She adapted it to true maternity by making it fully side lacing, as other maternity corsets of the time were. The construction method is a typical single-layer construction with applied exterior bone casings. She says the slightly later Edwardians mostly preferred applied interior casings. The boning in sets of 3 was a popular Edwardian choice. She used mostly German synthetic whalebone to simulate baleen to keep it lightweight and comfortable. Flat steel boning was used next to the grommets for enhanced stability. This corset has stood up to repeated wear and was excellent for my changing figure. Unfortunately, I do not have footage of me wearing it alone, but here is some footage of the blouse waist worn over the top, where you can see how much I expanded the panels at the sides and side fronts. And just a few images of me wearing it the day before my son was born. It was still just as comfortable and supported as the mock-up had been months earlier. Okay, so here I am, just over a week postpartum, trying on the corset again for fit. You can probably see I still have a little bit of the baby weight going on. Still a little tender, so I didn't lace up the front sides all of the way closed because I still need a little bit of ease in there. The sides I have laced much more than they were before. I did more on that side than this one, so they're not even, but it's pleasantly snug. It feels supportive and not tight, not restrictive. So I think this will transition well into a normal corset post-maternity. Okay, here is my maternity corset now, 7 months postpartum and back to my normal size. As you can see, I have laced the side lacings and the front half lacing all the way closed again, and it functions as a regular corset. Let me just show you the lacing gap in the back. Not perfectly parallel. I didn't do a very good job of lacing myself this morning, but I plan to take the lacing out now that I no longer need it and sew up these panels, which I think will help because I can't quite get these to completely close. As you can see, there's just always a bit of a gap, but once they're sewn shut, perhaps that will bring in the bottom a little bit, and then I won't have to lace this closed as much. And finally, here's the corset in its final form, I guess. I have removed the lacing and stitched, I just whip stitched the panels closed. And I had to redo this side one. Was it this one? I had to redo one of these because the stitching popped, but otherwise it's held up really well. And I was able to get a more parallel lacing gap in the back, better than it was anyway, by adding a little pad in the hip area, which is honestly what Edwardian women did anyway. They in fact added padding underneath and on top of corsets to give themselves the proper silhouette. So here it is, still comfortable, still sturdy, it's holding up. Just as important as the corset, in terms of silhouette at least, was the hip pad. I used the Scotty ventilated hip and bustle pad from Virgil's Fine Goods, which several other costumers have also made, and it is a fabulous pattern. I did not film all that much of the construction because I was on a time crunch, so if you want a detailed video showing how it is made, I recommend this one by So Loud. Now onto the soft items. I commissioned a sleeveless cotton chemise from Willoughby and Rose, who you may know from the YouTubes and or Instagram. Kate makes beautiful undergarments, which of course are almost always tragically covered up by the costumes they are made to go underneath. But that does not stop her from putting all the care and attention to detail into them as if they were on full display, and I was very pleased with the finished chemise that she sent me. Now the only thing left for me to make was the corset cover. I purchased the early 1900s Edwardian corset cover pattern from Wearing History, and it was very quick and easy to make.
I know it says advanced difficulty, but that's more about deciphering the pattern directions than the actual construction. The sewing itself is fairly simple. Here you see me adding beading lace to allow me to gather up the neckline. I replaced the cheap poly ribbon that came attached to the lace with silk satin ribbon from Renaissance Fabrics. It had a much nicer effect. I did add a bit of width to the pattern before I cut it out, to accommodate my expanding waistline, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward to make.
Again, I did not film much, but I can direct you to another video showing the full construction. This one is by Dames a la Mode. The only thing I did not get around to making that I really would have liked for this ensemble was a petticoat. So my walking skirt was not quite as filled out as it should have been. I did make a petticoat later on, and I will make a video about that eventually, once I get through this backlog. So that concludes the undergarments portion of the 1905 Suffragist, and I believe I am now done with this video series. I've been working on it for almost a year, and it feels good to finish it, I guess. I had a lot of fun wearing the outfit. I love that I have a lot of pieces now that I can mix and match and combine with other planned projects that I'm going to make and wear for all sorts of Edwardian shenanigans in the future. And of course, the undergarments will serve me for all of those outfits. So I consider them a very good investment of both my time and my money. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. If you would like to see more, definitely subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye.